Welcome to the Coach Out Podcast, where I like to talk to athletes, trainers, and coaches for some of the advice, some of the trials, some of the tribulations, but also some of the successes and some of the things that they did to help them achieve their goals. Hope you enjoy. Man, let's get started. Welcome to the Coach Out Podcast. I got Hunter Lessard with me, and I said the last name correct.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. I got Hunter Lessard with me. The guy's been all over the place. He's done a ton of things. I'm going to read through his resume because I'm filling out a page with it. And if I missed anything, let me know. I do have some cool stats, and you're killing it right now at Cactus Shadows High School. Still a freshman, coach?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right. So let's start. Hunter, were you born and raised in Arizona?
I was. Yeah, I was born Glendale, Arizona, in 1997.
97. God, what a baby. Make me feel old. You went to high school at Sunrise Mountain. You
Yes, sir.
played 3 years on varsity, so started your sophomore year. You got the Mr. Defense Award in 2016, and you've turned over 31 double plays. After that, you went to Glendale Community College, and you got a second team All-Region in 2018. Then here comes the fun stuff, which I definitely want to ask you some questions about this later. You played collegiate summer ball with the Alaskan Gold Painters of Fairbanks in the summer of 2018. Billy Bean, aka Moneyball, is that the same Billy Bean? Played there as well. Yep.
No, it's the Billy Bean, the one that just passed. He was like the president of I don't know, whatever he was running, the Players Alliance or
the Players Association.
The Players, yes. So it was a different Billy Bean.
So that was, didn't Cam just take that over? Cameron Lowe.
Yes.
Did you ever get to meet Cam Lowe?
I did once. He came in and threw and was kind of talking to me. Good dude. Good dude.
Yeah, like when he shakes your hand, if you guys don't know, Cam's like 6'9". Cam just engulfs your hand, but he is the most genuine dude. And then again, I got a chance to talk to Scott Main the other day, who pitched for the Cubs. And every time a quality high-level pitcher gets on the mound, they have an ability to flip a switch, and that switch makes them a psychopath. And Cam is that dude. He's the most loving, give the shit off his back for you. And he gets on the mound, and he's like, I'm going to bury your family. Great dude.
And I feel like, dude, at the field, Zing had a couple of those guys that it was like his circle, man, all able to flip that switch. For sure.
While you played up in Alaska, you got a chance to play the Midnight Sun game, which I'm excited to talk to you about. And here's a crazy fact. Again, this is summer ball. You played the infield for 319 innings that one summer. That's a lot of baseball for summer ball. After that, you went to the
coming off 56 games, or I think 59 games because we made the playoffs. That was a long year.
After that, you played at the University of Texas in Rio Grande Valley. You were a D1 scholarship athlete. You guys won the WAC that year in 2019, which is the Western Athletic Conference. Here's the cool part. You had a fielding percentage of 1,000. You were perfect that season. That's awesome.
Cool. I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Oh, man, I did some digging. I did some digging. So here's the cool part too, because this is going to play into your coaching too. Like, here's the theme I found with Hunter Lessard is that it's defense. Like, you kill it. All right. After that, you had the opportunity to go coach at Phoenix College as an assistant coach. You did infielders, outfielders, as well as helped out with the hitters a little bit. 2022, 2023. And actually, we had just met right before that.
Like literally right before. Yeah.
Yeah. And you talked about, hey, I want to go get a coach. And then you get that opportunity. And I was like, let's go, little boy. You were there for a year, and then you got the opportunity to become the Cactus Shadows High School freshman head coach. And you took that program over. You started in 2023. You're still the head coach.
Still there, yep.
Fun stats. In 2023, the freshman team boasted, these are national numbers, a better fielding percentage than the national average. You guys turned more double plays than the national average. And you had fewer fielding errors than the national average. Again, Hunter Lessard, excellent defense. Like, it follows you. And I think you have a part to play in. Yeah. I think you got a part to play in that. And then you started the Mavericks. Is it the Mavericks Baseball Academy?
Maverix Baseball
Mavericks.
Academy. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
You,
So
you
me and
co-founded that,
yeah, co-founded with Michael Herrera. Yep.
and you were also a head coach for that. And I would love to talk to you more about Mavericks. In fact, do you want to get started talking about Mavericks?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let it eat, dude. Tell me about Mavericks.
Cool. Yeah, man. Well, as I've been in the game quite a while, but not compared to other people that have been in the game a long time.
Hmm.
But I have a lot of passion,
Hmm.
just for playing the game the right way, for learning just skills that serve you in life, not just,
Yeah.
hey, I'm gonna be a great baseball player, because you could be the greatest ball player in the world. And if you're an a-hole, you're still an a-hole. You're a
Right.
good ball
Right.
player, man, but that career is coming to an end. And so, I kept talking to my roommate. Me and Michael were roommates for 2 years. We've been teammates since 12 years old. So we've been teammates there. We went to Sunrise together. Um, and so we were living together, and I was working at the fuel factory, and I'm like, Mike, there's so many issues in club baseball. Like when we were in, like it was so different. And now like we have an opportunity to provide a real solution for kids that need authentic coaching, not this showcase, hey, there's a coach that shows up that you've never met in your life before. You got to get all this training in on your own. Like that's part of it. But I think that a big part of it is how you train and the process you develop. And so me and Mike were going back and forth, and he's big into real estate and crushes it. And I kept telling him, like, dude, we can do something so special. And so we launched Mavericks August of 2023, I believe. And we had 3 people show up to our tryout. So I told him, I said, we're kind of up against it. Tryouts for all these club teams were in May. We're trying to do it in August. Tournaments start in September. They've all picked teams. Let's do it. Boom. 3 kids show up. It's raining that night. The lights don't get turned on. We're at Sunny Slope High School, man. This guy's supposed to flip them on from his phone, and he forgets.
Yeah.
It's like 7:30, and I'm just ringing him like, hey, we've got 3 kids here, man. Can you just please turn it? It's bad enough already. And so, my girlfriend's there with us, and we eat some humble pie, and we started digging, man. We started having conversations, and we're like, how can we start to impact kids now without teams? Because
Right.
we can help kids learn the game, and number two is have fun. I think that that's a big piece that's missing is kids don't know how to have fun. And then when they
Mhm.
do have fun, they get yelled at by a coach that makes it not fun. And you see so many
Right.
kids play timid and play fear. So we started kind of coming up with these ideas, and I'm like, dude, every Friday night we get hit with this mass, can I get a lesson? Can I get a workout? Can I get a lesson? And
Right.
you've got 4 or 5 lessons on a Friday night. They all want work before the weekend. So we started Mavericks Sandlot, and it's the concept is come out and have fun and try stuff, and if you fail, there's no stats. You're just playing the game against other
Right.
kids from this area, and we've set up games, competitions, uh lots of cool stuff before the live. So it's 3 hours, and kids have been raving about it, man. It's lots
Yeah.
of fun, high energy. They can switch hit if they want. We've had kids come switch pitch,
Right.
ambidextrous pitchers. I had a kid that is traveling. He's going to the Banana National tournament up in Cleveland, or he might have just
Right.
went. And he's like, "Hey, I want to try batting lefty before I go." I'm like, "What are you waiting on? Do it."
Yeah. Go.
First pitch, man, gets drilled in the back. I'm like, "Oh, that is not the way you want your first lefty at bat."
Well, hey, on
But
base percentage though.
hey, he's 0 for 0 with thousands.
Yeah.
No, so that's been lots of fun, just getting kids to kind of fall in love with the idea of playing the game to have fun, not so
Right.
much like pressure and I have to get hits and my game
Yeah.
changer stat aren't 1,000.
Yeah.
So that's been cool, and now that's kind of rolled into the mental game. And so Mike's kind of crushing the in-person. We have a private hitting academy. We've got 13 kids in that, where we do a remote, you know,
Mhm.
you get access to us 24/7. We have a monthly meetup where we're actually going this Sunday to it's called Live Colder in Scottsdale. And the
Okay.
kids will be able to get a true recovery experience, because you're in high
Nice.
school. It's you've got the trainer and junior college, you've got some trainers, but you get to that D1 level, that major league level, dude, that recovery is different. They've got all these tools and people to help. And so we tried our best to give them that. And so we're going to meet there, go through the ice bath, the Normatec leg recoveries. And then so I've taken on the mental side. So we're actually consulting teams, high school organization and college teams. And then we're also doing one-on-one stuff, guys that have just struggled with the fear of getting hit. I had
Mhm.
a kid come to me last year. He couldn't even step in the box, and his dad. The last time I talked to him, they played up in Cooperstown, and he got 2 hits up in Cooperstown, man. And just to see the kid having fun again is so cool. And so that's where we've kind of been going, is gearing it towards fun, development, and then the mental side of building that toughness to face, not to have success. I mean, success is what you define. I think everyone can be successful if we have the right perspective. But I think truly, like, just giving them those bumpers, right? Bowling,
Mhm.
giving them bumpers to navigate and not get so pushed to one side or the other side to where they're so high or they're so low. They're just staying right here along their journey and able to navigate the tough things and the fun things and all that stuff.
The amount of conversations I've had that have had to do with just mentality, the amount of hitting lessons, or you talked about fear a little bit with catching. A lot of that it's fear to get comfortable because it's not normal, right? You're taught your entire life, hey, use your glove to catch the ball. All right, great. Now I need you to sit in front of it. I need you to relax. I need you to breathe. And by the way, I need you to square it up, catch it with your body, right? Because most people, like, their natural reaction when a ball that's coming 80 plus at them or even 70, their natural reaction is to go, nope, like, to get out of the way. So once you realize, like, that's why I believe catchers are a little crazy, because you've taken that, which is, again, it's a good thing to have that survival mechanism. But if you want to catch, we have to kind of break that. And that fear is real, and parents don't get it. And I've even had parents who were like, just starting to get at the kid, which you're dealing with this borderline fight or flight situation. And then you're adding in stress from someone who's supposed to be taking care of you. And it's like, hold on, hold on. They'll get there. Don't get me wrong. You give enough time, they'll break through. But we can get it today. Do you want to come try it? I have
Yeah.
gear. Do you want to come try it? And like I've
Got
had yeah, well, because like one thing I'll do, let me finish the parent thing real quick because I'll start going. I love this stuff. I've had two parents take me up on it. One guy literally got in, saw a pitch go by because I always recommend, hey, you need to see one before. And he goes, no, I'm done. And then walked around. That was the last we heard of that. Right. And he's like, all right, I get it. It's hard. The next guy actually did one. He went and blocked one ball, got hit. And you just heard this "Ooh," like that. Just the air leave his lungs. And he was like, I'm done. And then after that, it was all good because it's hard. It's not easy. It's definitely a skill.
for
Um,
sure.
God, man, even with hitting, like people don't realize when that ball's going 80 miles an hour, it can kill you. There's enough energy there. If it hits you in the neck or the head, like bad stuff can happen. And to routinely let that ball fly a foot away from you, it's not normal. It's far
I,
from normal.
I played D1 baseball and I was on and off afraid of the ball my entire career. And
Hmm.
it's these tools that we talk about that really helped shape and navigate. Like, dude, being able to slow down my breath before an at bat because I'm facing a kid, RJ
Yeah.
Dabovich at Central, who's touching 98 in front of
Yeah.
14, 15 scouts. And I'm up
Hmm.
there shaking, man. And I did get a hit off him. I've been struck out by great pitchers and I've hit them. And if I didn't have those tools in place, man, I don't know if I would have played that level because I was still afraid. You got a ball coming 95 and then a dude throwing a really tight, sharp slider, and you can't
Hmm.
see that move until the last second, and you're like, whoa. I mean,
Yep. Well,
it
even
takes
Nolan Ryan. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it does take a long time. Nolan Ryan even used that as a tool to pitch. And that's kind of like the saying that I use for coaching is because I started coaching when I started coaching because I never had the coach I wanted to be. So I got into it and I knew baseball. I knew baseball. I figured out some stuff. I really learned details and mechanics afterwards. But I always say, like, I learned baseball at Fuel Factory. I learned what it meant to play. I learned what it meant to be a baseball player, not just an athlete. The absolute mental side, the breath work. I mean, for goodness sakes, if you have SWAT teams doing box press before they have to go execute, we're not getting shot at. I mean, technically, depends how hard the guy's throwing, but like we're competing. Why not use the tool? Why are like the first time I ever ask a kid, like, has anybody ever taught you how to breathe? And they'll laugh. And I'm like, no, no, I'm serious. And I'll do the hand thing and like difference between diaphragm and chest. And
For
all of a
sure.
sudden, that you can just like see it, the stress. And they all of a sudden go like, oh, I have control. Or the first time, especially younger kids, younger boys, like 13 or 12, you tell them, you know, it's okay to be angry, right? It's just what you do when you're angry that counts. Like, I get angry all the time, but if I hit somebody with a fungo, that's not a good thing.
Be a
So I
couple
love to
crunches.
hear that. Yeah. So I love to hear that you're doing the mentality side. What got you into that? What got you into, hey, I want to take over the mental side from Mavericks?
So it's funny you asked that, and I would have to agree. I think I regained part of me at the fuel
Hmm.
factory. I'd been through
Hmm.
so much and getting we'll get into it, I'm sure, but getting released from the Texas Rio Grande Valley and truly getting treated like not very good, getting
Hmm.
told things that probably most humans shouldn't hear.
Yeah.
Going
Yep.
through that and, as a kid, hearing the worst stuff ever possible from your own dad
Right.
and him being so hard, and I'm super thankful, man. Like I look back and I'm super grateful that he pushed me the way that he did and
Hmm.
demanded the standards that he did, because I personally think that I have, standards to this day from those experiences back in the day. Now, being told that you suck when you're giving your best and being told that you're awful at what you do,
Right.
it's hard to navigate that when you love something so much and you want to make someone so happy. And
Right.
then, you fail when you do your best and you've controlled all the controllables, and then you're still getting, quote unquote crapped on. And so
Right.
I wanted to know, man, like once I got cut, I'm like, I'm just, there's so much pain here and so much
Yeah.
like quote unquote trauma. I have to understand why this is happening and how can I change it. And
Hmm.
so as fate would have it, man, I, went through that cut. Um, some things happened in my personal life, and it just was the perfect storm, if you will, to kind of direct me away from baseball. And I got a job and I'm working, 9 to 5 in a kitchen. And dude, I never cooked in my life, man. I ate the same 3 meals in college every day, or it was Chick-fil-A.
Yep. Hey, that's solid, baby. That's how
Hey,
boys are built right there.
needs, man. And then so I never cooked. I got a job. I worked 2.5 years, I think, 2.5 years at this job, and I got a raise. I worked my ass off, man. I was getting up at 4 a.m. every day, just studying the mental, working with my private coach, and just going to work and depositing and depositing and depositing. And I would go to this coffee shop by my house and I'd write down like I truly see myself and feel that I'm going to impact kids with the mental game. And I just continued to think about it, and little by little, the fuel factory thing happened. But what was funny about that, you might have been in there, you might have not. But I walked in one day to go see Zinger, and some pro guys throwing a pen, and it's just the vibes, man. We used to call it the portal. I'm like, you come in here and
Yes.
you get changed. It's a
Mhm.
vibe, it's a vibration. And so I go in there, and the lady that's running the social media is sitting at the front desk. So I start chatting to her, and I'm telling her, "Hey, I used to play, and how old's your son?" And she's telling me her son's gonna go to O'Connor, and he's a pretty good baseball player. And I told her, I looked her in the eyes, and I was like, I'm gonna quit my job, and I'm gonna come work here." And then I walked into Zinger, and I told him, "I'm gonna quit my job, and I'm gonna come work for you." And within a month, I quit my job and I came and worked. I had 2 months of income guaranteed. He runs those summer
Mhm.
camps, and then it was nothing, dude.
Mhm.
And I told myself, I said, you know what? If I don't take this chance, I'll look back with so much regret, the same way I did with, some of the things that
Mhm.
happened in baseball and just some of the situations in my life. Like, I will not look back and regret. I'm going to take the chance. And I did. I took the chance, and little by little, lesson here, lesson there. Phoenix College comes about, and now, I've got a full-time gig at the fuel factory. And I'm like, okay, I was a decent hitter, but I wasn't amazing. So now let's start going in on that. But the whole time that I did, I'm like, I just have to gear towards the mental, because I know that when I fixed my own, you know, crap, my
Mhm.
performance started to rapidly increase. And I had put in so much work, man, hours and hours and hours of hitting off the tee before practice, after practice, in the morning before school, dude, going on a 5 mile run because I didn't get called up to varsity as a freshman, just to run myself to feel what? I don't know. And I couldn't
Right.
grow the way that I knew I could until I
Right.
started to dive into that. And so my first
Right.
experience was with Steve Springer. He came to our high school and spoke. He played for the Mets. He got like 4 at bats, but he played in the big leagues, played in minor leagues for 13 years, and he was big on quality at bats. And opening
Mhm.
day every day, I'm like, dude, this is something I can get behind. Like,
Mhm.
I have been working so hard for so long, and now this is my success, is showing up and doing what I can, and then I don't have to worry about the outcome. Ah, I can get behind that. And
Yeah.
that's the day that things really started to like roll, if you will.
Mhm.
And yeah, man. So from that point on, Mavericks took on a couple years fast forward. I started Maverix Baseball Academy with Michael, and our vision is development, fun, and helping kids navigate baseball and life successfully. And
Yeah.
so for that to come about so early, the Sandlots have been selling out. The academy with hitting is really doing well. So I'm like, Mike, let's, kind of
Mhm.
attack this thing, and we can help more kids. And so we've actually got an online community that meets every other Monday night. We've got
Mhm.
17 kids in there. And so
That's
we
awesome.
do, yeah, we do mental game stuff. I've got exercises. They do challenges. Right now, their challenge is to do 75 push-ups a day. They can break
Mhm.
that up however they want, and then they have to write down one thing that they're appreciative of in the game of baseball a day,
Ooh, I like that.
getting them to think a little different.
Yeah.
And then one baseball specific something. So if they want to play catch with themselves, throw a tennis ball off the wall, take
Yeah.
10 swings, do dry swings, anything baseball wise applies. And so that's what we're doing over here at Mavericks. And it's, dude, every
Awesome.
day I just wake up and it's fun, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Have you ever heard how many, like, if you're just working, how many repetitions it takes for your brain to figure out the neuron process and to be able to recall it and basically make it a subconscious movement versus if you're learning that same skill, but you're learning it in a play scenario? Have you ever seen the difference on how fast someone learns when they play?
Oh,
So, for instance, like, if you like think of your favorite song, you probably know the lyrics to it, right? How many
oh yeah.
hours did you spend learning the lyrics to that song? You didn't. You were enjoying yourself. You were having fun. So literally, I'm gonna mess these numbers up, but the point will come across. If you're playing, it takes about 10 to 25 reps to start to figure. I'm not saying perfect it. I'm not saying master it. I'm saying figure out. Like if you're trying to get a turn, like you need to figure out how your hips turn. If you're playing around with it, like, do you know Cam Ginger propel hitting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Cam loves to do this drill where he puts the L screen all the way back at 60 feet and then lobs the ball like halfway, and they got to move. So what it does is it makes you're not in the box. It's not a mechanical thing anymore. It's a living, breathing, adapting thing, and it allows guys to figure out their turn. And
Oh,
when
so
you
you're
allow
saying
them to
like he throws it
the
from
ball,
60 feet, but they have to like shuffle into it.
yeah. So he bounces it, and they have to hit it between the first and the second bounce. And what that allows them to, like, you got to move. You can't. It's not a mechanical thing. You have to be a living, breathing thing.
Yeah.
So I love that. Yeah, and all of a sudden now it's a drill because like he'll put restrictions on it. Like you just have to hit the back of the cage. I don't care if it's top, bottom. I don't care, but it's got to go that way. And all of a sudden, if you don't hit, he doesn't have to say a word. It's immediate feedback, and all of a sudden you start to see that little competition. And when you start playing these little mental, like, don't get me wrong, there's a time to put the grindstone down. Let's do this. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna suck. Well, we'll figure it out. Those times should not be way more than we're having fun. Because honestly, the guys that make it, baseball is such a grind. The guys that make it enjoy the work. It's
Yeah.
fun to them. They do it. They find a way. And if you can, it's not work. Sure, is it exhausting? Is it tiring? Yeah, you're gonna be sore? Probably. But it's not work. And you had said something about because Scott was the same way. When Scott, I don't know if you listened to that last podcast. Scott grew up in Florida. They played a lot of travel ball, but for them it was work. If they didn't mess up, like they were running miles with like bats above their heads. Like it was
For
work.
sure.
He was out there to do a job. And but that's Scott. Scott, that's his mindset. Like again, he's a pitcher. That's his switch. He even said, I used the clip because it just came off beautifully. When he went up there, he was like, I was an at bat guy. And in my head, nobody should have ever made contact. And you just saw like the depth of like, this is a grizzly bear. This is a predator. Like you should not be there. And that's true. In the game of baseball, failure is not an exception, it's the rule. You're going to. The only exception to failure is a successful starting pitcher. To them, failure is rare. But for everybody else, like, dude, if you go 1 for 3, 333, great job, Bubba. Oh, now. Hey,
Yeah.
I always say, yeah,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
2017, in 2017, Giancarlo Stanton, I'm pretty sure it was 2017. It was when the first StatCast started come around. Hit the hardest ground ball. It was like 120.2 miles an hour. He hit the hardest ball that year. The result of that hardest hit ball was it's a ground ball double play. Like, do you think Stanton went like, oh, I messed up? No, like that's baseball. It's gonna happen. And if you absolutely just crumble or fall in every time that you fail, it's not gonna be fun. There's too many games, man. Yeah,
No.
that's why
Have
like
you
you go ahead.
have you heard Carol Dweck? Carol Dweck out of Stanford, the professor that cultivated the term growth mindset.
No. No, tell me
Oh,
about her.
dude, awesome. So she's got this concept, fixed mindset and growth mindset. She interviewed,
Okay.
I mean, the studies are just so deep with fixed versus growth. And she really says like
Mhm.
it's a fine line. You're on one side or the other. And basically, a fixed minded person really identifies with the results. A fixed minded person believes that their skill sets are sort of fixed and they can't improve them with work. And uh, they when they fail, they tend to give up. And a growth
Right.
minded person is open to the idea that they can get better with practice. They're more concerned with what they can control versus what they can't control. And they have more enthusiasm and joy doing it. And so, looking at those two, it's kind of like, ooh, I was fixed minded
Yeah.
for a long time, man. I thought my skills couldn't
Right.
improve and I had to work hard to improve them. And yeah, her study's great. She wrote the book Mindset. It's on Amazon. It's everywhere, but it's really good, man. I'd check it
Right.
out.
I love that. That's awesome. So I've been kind of getting to a kick of watching golf videos on YouTube. Guys like GM does some good entertainment stuff, but Bryson DeChambeau. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I
All
do.
right.
Yeah.
So Bryce, yeah. All right. So Bryson put out some stuff, and he did some interviews, and the YouTube channels allowed him to kind of connect with people on a deeper level. Bryson really struggled. Like he knew he was going to hit the ball hard, but it was where he knew chipping he was going to struggle, long irons he was going to struggle, putting he was going to struggle, and he tried everything with putting, like everywhere, every tool, every aid. Basically, this is when he was in college because he was very good. He went out and they literally like their goal was like, I'm going to build a driver, I'm going to build a 7-iron, I'm going to build a wedge. and outside the box. So basically, he had these physical tools and he knew mentally, he was already a competitor mentally, but he went out and was like, I know I can get better. How? How can we do this? And like he he even said in a couple of these interviews, he's like, they thought I was crazy. They thought I was off my rocker. They thought I was loco. I was trying stuff like this is the box. He's like, I was over here. Like he was all over the place. And then, coming back and now seeing where he's doing and what he's done, and now he's actually pioneering some innovation as far as golf clubs go. But it's funny to watch those people who just, I mean, didn't Babe Ruth have a quote? It's hard to beat the guy that never gives up.
It's one of the yeah, Babe Ruth
It's something like that.
or something.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, where if you have this, like, you either have it or you don't. And how do you know unless you go? How do you know that you can make it to the top of the mountain or you can't? How many guys, like for instance, let's take selections. So I've had the opportunity to train a lot of guys that did a lot of really cool things at the tip of the spear. Every selection's voluntary. It's not mandatory. You choose to be there, you choose not to be. So every single one of those guys, minus 5% that figured out ways to not get deployed. But when at the start of a selection, every one of those guys has to pass a physical. They have to pass an interview process. It's not just like check I'm there. There's a process to it. Every single one of those guys that got into those selections can do the physical stuff. Most of them. 99% can. Why do we have a 1 to 10% success rate? They all can do it. They all have the yeah. It's that thing. And after learning and seeing some of that, and once you learn like you are not in charge of your body. You give your brain suggestions and it controls it for you. Tissue is living. It's why when you get a cramp, it's screaming at you and wants to
Yeah,
be coddled and held. I'll do this thing where I'll take two fingers and a thumb and I'll put it around their hand like this and I'll turn it. And I'm like, all I want you to do, and again, I'm not going to hurt you, but all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn. I want you to try and stay standing straight up. And I'll turn their wrist. And eventually, at a point, they're going to start doing this. They're going to follow the wrist because the brain is taking over and like, we're leaving. We're not breaking our wrist.
yeah,
And they'll be like, oh my God, why can't I not do that? Because all of a sudden, they're not in control. All of a sudden, it just let's go. And I'm like, right. And I'll show them how hard I was twisting. And it's barely anything, dude. It's just the joint's in a compromised position, right? And it's just to show like your brain is, you're saying, yeah, I want to stand up straight. Your brain goes, no, we can. We can't. Nope, we're leaving. And they can't, all of a sudden they realize, hey, my body and my brain and my mind are two different things or three different things. And where you start to notice like you have an emotional side and you have a logical side of the brain. So for instance, when guys start getting too much, I'll have them do math problems. Like, hey, what's 7 + 2? 9. Throw them a ball. And all of a sudden they realize it, right? Because when you hear like I'll always say like, don't say it out loud, but like, what's your home address? What's your phone number? And it's just it's just a computer. I'm like, great. What is your favorite meal that your mom makes? And some guys like you'll see like a facial expression. I'm like, did you notice how you started like salivating? Did you notice how you could smell it? Did you notice how you could feel the room, probably where she was standing or what utensils she was using to cook? I'm like, do you notice how there's like emotion attached to that? Two
for
different
sure.
sides. And you're playing an unemotional game, which is baseball, just grass and dirt, some bases, played by an emotional being. How can you control this part? Because that's all you can't control. The mental thing is so underrated. It's criminal, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And this
Mhm.
don't get me rolling, but the school system, bro, don't teach us anything about how to navigate
Nope.
that part of it. And truly, like you start to see these quotes of they don't want thinkers, they want workers. And we've never been taught how to set goals.
Yeah.
We've never been taught how to dream
Do
big. And
taxes.
yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. I know what the Pythagorean theorem is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Given them
There's some
those
interest. Yeah.
the latest research shows that emotions are precognitive, meaning
Hmm.
they happen before you think. So, like, if you've got a habit of fear going into the batter's box, dude, you can't even think your way out of that. So how can you build a system to help you have
Right.
success when you're fighting something you can't even see?
Mhm. Right.
That's
And that's
that's what
so what two things I try to mention to guys because it clicks at different points for different people. And kind of once you realize like, sure, your body is trying to protect you. That's all it cares about. It just wants to wake up tomorrow. But once you realize, oh, that's what's happening, I can control that. So the first thing I ask is like, do you know who the boogeyman is? And they'll always say, yes, I know what the boogeyman is or who he is. I'm like, great. What does he look like? And no, I've had one person give me an answer, and it was about one of those Jeepers Creepers thing. But
yeah,
most people don't know what the boogeyman is, but they know he's scary. And the point of that is, you're not scared of the dark. You're scared of what might be in the dark. And your brain can be a dark place. That's why journaling can be a powerful tool for some people. And the next thing I'll say, especially with catchers, because fear is real. Fear and excitement are the same chemical emotion. Chemically, they're the same. It's how you perceive it. And it's the reason that you either love horror movies or you hate them. So every time you step in the box, and if you're feeling fear, one, that's your body getting used to it. Because guess what the next one is? Anger. That's where anger comes from because your body's like, oh man, let's go. Once you realize, hey, I can either feel scared or I can feel like, oh, now, throw me that fastball. I know you're throwing it. You only throw 92. Guess what you're throwing? 92. Now I know what's coming.
for sure.
And all of a sudden, it's a you take something that wasn't and still isn't tangible. They can't touch emotion, but now you give them control over it. And it's something that control, there's something about it.
For sure. Well,
There's something about it.
here's something that I've been pondering, and if you've got any
Hmm.
feedback. So say I've been so fascinated by old MLB players that have
Hmm.
kids that end up making it or playing some version of pro ball. I was very blessed to be around the White Sox facility. My best friend in high school, his dad was the clubby. Dude, I went there every day. Spring training, I mean, seeing Bo Jackson and Tommy Lasorda because the
That's
White Sox
awesome.
and Dodgers
Hmm.
share. And just how many kids grow up in this environment and they end up doing the same exact thing or coaching or they're just so elevated in the game. Okay. And
Hmm.
then you've got, on the other side, let's just call it Section 8 housing. So you've got these two scenarios.
Hmm.
I can do anything really, but,
Hmm.
but we'll just start with that. Why is it that there's fifth, sixth, seventh generational welfare and Section 8 housing people? They continue to
Hmm.
relive the same experience. And then you've got this, big leaguer that has a kid, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette,
Yeah, it's a good one.
Jackson Holiday. You've got these superstars that from the time they're tiny little, babies, they're in the clubhouse. And the programming is so intense as a minor, right? Before the brain hits 7 years old, it's very influenced. Everything that they see and take in is very geared towards that programming that they'll have for the rest of their life. Because the time they hit 13, boom, it's pretty much locked. So
Hmm.
why are these kids so susceptible to success? And you've got kids that have way more talent that never touch, they never sniff it. And it's like this fine line, right? Because you see some come out of the slums that end up being multimillionaires and they don't live in
Yep.
that section of housing and they did something about it. And then you've
Yep.
got these superstar like my buddy. I mean, he's going to be a physical therapist and he's great at what he does. He had the access to the White Sox facility, and I think he pitched 6 innings, for our high school
Hmm.
team. And I'm not knocking him, but he had all these resources, and he
Hmm.
didn't go that far. And so it's just interesting to me, the common denominator. There's got to be something that's clicking up here. The
Right.
environment's gotta be right. So it's like this whole system. But I'm just so intrigued by like how can we help program? How can we
Right.
help teach these kids with that same you know information or same belief in themselves, because you see it in the guy, I'm gonna blank on it, Roger Bannister, right?
Hmm.
1952 breaks the 4-minute mile, first guy ever. Everyone's been telling him it's impossible, it's impossible, it's
Hmm.
impossible. Boom, breaks the 4-minute mile, and then that same year 30 kids or 30 people break it. The
Yep.
following
Yep.
year, dude, 300 people break the
Hmm.
4-minute mile. That was a collective belief. And I'm gonna be bold, bro. I'm gonna say something pretty bold. There will be another hitter in our lifetime that hits over 400, hands down. Or maybe after our lifetime, there will be a hitter. Dude, people have bought into this idea, "Oh, pitching's too good." It's not possible. Look at how close Luis Arias was last year.
Yep.
And Roger Bannister broke this collective belief, and
Right.
it's I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, and it's gonna take one superstar freak of a human that's exceptional at what they do, but
Right.
I do think it's possible if they really believe that they can do that.
I think so. There's a lot to unpack there. I'm going to do my best. I
Yeah.
think, I think, let's start from the last point. I think you're right. I think it will take a freak, someone who won't be outside or inside the norm. And that's usually gets classified later when we find out that they're right as genius.
Yeah.
Like again, we'll go back to Bryson. When Bryson was doing his thing, they thought he was crazy. Well, now that he's a multimillionaire, and he won a major, second and long drive, that kind of stuff. Well, all of a sudden now it's like, yeah, that's how we do it. Trevor Bauer, yeah, I don't know if you followed that his vlog, but he mentioned that from Japan. So Japan was all about contact. Hell, they had a bunting championship, right? Like that was a huge thing. By the way, if we could get that atmosphere in baseball that Japan has, oh my goodness.
Dude,
That looks
dude,
fun.
so awesome. I have a
Awesome.
kid that came to the Sandlot, and he went to,
Yeah.
Japan for 7 months or 7 weeks,
Yeah.
and they went to a couple games. Dude, it's just different. I
Yeah.
need to go. I need to go.
Well, ever since Shohei has done his thing over here, I guess now everyone in Japan wants to throw 100 and hit home runs. So I think if you have the influence, like right now, are guys paid for average or on base in the MLB, like big money? No, they're paid for show. They're paid to launch the ball. Well, with power comes inaccuracies. And baseball is such a finicky game. I think if we saw a culture shift and some money that they put the same energy into, or they can somehow make on base and batting average as sexy as power, I think you would see it a lot faster. I think
For sure.
because dude, the amount of guys like, let me finish this because I'm about to jump into like the limitations of the human brain. Where you talked about some guys that didn't have resources. Let's just say that. I think that was the Section 8 kind of thing. They didn't have
Yeah.
the resource, didn't have the facilities or the community around them. And then they had the guys that
Yeah.
like, the cream of the crop, the best you can do. I think we see the same thing in a bunch of different scenarios. So, for instance, like if you have a dad who is a billionaire and he has a kid, what are the chances that that kid is going to be the hardest working, figure it out, make his own money? Probably not, because he grew up in that comfort. And I think when you see guys that their only way out, like for instance, Dominican is a great example. When you see Dominican guys and they are fighting every day, tooth and nail, is the only way those coaches get paid is if you get signed and those coaches get a cut. So if you're
True.
not good enough or they don't think you can do it, you're not playing. Like it's it. So I think when you see hunger is a factor. And then, I mean, you played enough baseball, I'm sure you've seen it. How many things take the jersey off of your back? So for instance, when you see guys get still one of the best infield arms I've ever seen in my life was at Glendale. From the third base line, this is just us playing. Third base line in the grass, probably 5-10 steps. I'm at first base.
Yeah.
Best arm I've ever seen. I mean, an absolute hand cannon. I would love to see his RPMs. I mean, off the chart. Got DUI. That was it. That's the end. How many times has a girl get a girl to make you quit because why do you love baseball more than me, or you have a kid, or academics, or I think there's a lot of different things that can take them out. One thing I do know is human beings will always be human beings. I think when you see somebody that embraces the culture, I think when you see like you have that direction, I think like your dad will make a huge impact on who you are. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's why like some conditions are generational. Can you break it? Can you not? The luck factor, the injury factor, the who knows. I think there's
Yeah.
a lot of different things. Well, I think we'd find the answer rather than finding the differences if we found the commonalities. If you sat those two guys down and talked to them for 3 to 4 hours and just dug, I think you would start to see, oh, that's it. And then the rest of it's just noise. I think the guys like, what does it take to get to that level? Or hell,
Yeah,
how many guys did you ever see drop out in the dog days of August? How many guys?
dude. I mean, junior college. There was a kid. There was a kid that came. I swear, man, he looked just like Manny Machado and
Mhm,
hit ball so hard. And we'd be hitting, and dude, I'm sitting there, signed D1, jealous of this kid's swing, and he doesn't play an inning for us. Quits after his freshman year. He's working. I mean, he was
mhm,
done. And dude had so much potential, but no self belief and no self confidence. And
yeah,
that's one of the biggest. I think that's the biggest thing is
right.
in those arenas where you see kids thrive. I think one, they've got that confidence that they can do it,
Mhm,
and dude, he didn't have it, but he hit the ball so hard. I'm like, bro, you were so good. And it's one of those
yep,
times, Earl Nightingale, one of the late great philosophers and high-ended thinkers, he was talking about how it's so funny how we can so easily see other people doing things and think that they can do it so much easier than we can.
mhm,
And I'm like, dude, I did that my entire life. Like I
mhm,
would, like you said, man, I had some defensive skills to back it up. It wasn't until junior college, my sophomore year, that I knew I was good. I went 222 chances, 7 errors that year, and I started to gain some real confidence, like, where I could actually
mhm,
vocalize and say, "Man, I'm pretty good," but until then, I didn't have that belief, and I it's crazy how good you can show up on the field when you trust yourself, and when
mhm,
"Bro, my skills are there. Now I just
yeah.
gotta trust 'em," you know? And
There's a.
yeah.
Do you know who John Wooden is? Does that name sound
Oh,
familiar?
yeah, for sure.
Okay,
UCLA.
perfect. So yeah, let's go. Wooden had this quote where, and again, I'm gonna botch it, but learning, being around it, culture, right? There's a lot to it. But all of a sudden, he wasn't worried about wins and losses. He was worried about that. Because the fact of the matter is, and I'm going to say there's a very, very strong correlation between that. And if you get to talk to soft guys, now the culture is different in soft, whether it's Green Berets would actually be SF or Rangers or whatever. The culture is different because the job set's different. That is not though. They do not take to you're not doing this or you're a fat body now or you're not doing your job. You don't know your job, right? It's demand it or you're out. It's not big army stuff. It's this high level standards. And the winning takes care of itself. It's funny how like that gets developed. That quote led me to one, freedom to fail. You're allowed to fail. You're just not allowed to stay down and you're not allowed to fail and not learn it. If you fail and learn something great, you know what that means? You tried. You did something. I love when kids fail. I'm like, you're allowed to fail. I don't care. I got a whole bucket here. We can keep going. And if that's not enough, we'll pick them up. We'll do it again.
For sure.
And I'll turn around and say, like, hey, have you seen your dad right now? Yeah. All right. How many times has he rolled over right now? Well, none. I'm like, you know why? Because he's not hitting. You are. You're trying. You're doing something. You're allowed to fail, dude. Keep failing. Just don't let it stop you. The moment you quit is the moment you fail. Just don't quit. I say all that because I wanted to know your opinion. Do you think success happens in the moment, or do you think it happens before in preparation?
Way before. I think success is a outcome of proper inputs for a long, 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 long time. You
Mhm.
see outliers, 10,000 hours. I think, what are we talking about as far as success? Because that's where, defining success as winning and losing, it's in the moment. I mean, you can't win a game in practice, but I think success in the way that I would define success is pretty close to the way John Wooden, doing
Mhm.
everything that you possibly can be productive and successful. I think that's probably the closest thing. Earl Nightingale had another one. I think it was the continuous progression towards an ever unfolding goal. And it's like, that's to
Yo,
me like
something along those lines.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's like it can change. You can change, but as long as you're giving your best and as long as you're trying, I completely agree. And you know it's funny, that same lady, I believe, the fixed mindset, or what's her name? I just said it earlier. Anyways, the mindset book that we were talking about.
Well, Carla, is that
She's
right?
from
Carla?
Stanford. She's from Stanford. No, yeah, I'll think of it in a minute. Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck.
Carol. That's it. Carol.
So
I was close.
I'm almost positive it's in there. It's proven that parents and coaches that like talk about their effort and the things they can control versus like their outcome and the actual result, they're geared,
Mhm.
they're going to give you more, they're going to try harder, their effort levels will be harder because they're buying into something. Hey, I'm being told good job on something I can do, I'm going to do more of that. And she puts it in like a statistical way that makes sense.
Right.
um but yeah, I completely agree, man. I think, I don't know, it's how you define success.
Right. Oh man, that's tough. Well, hey, I definitely want you on again, but we're coming up to an hour, and the editing is going to be a blast.
That was
I
easy.
always ask.
Easy hour.
Yeah, it is. It's fun, man. Once you get rolling, uh,
Yeah.
I always ask people, and I ask for this one piece of advice. Let's just say you met a player at a tournament or whatever, and he came up to you and he was genuine and he wanted to get better, but he asked you. The only caveat is he is moving across the country. He's not going to have a phone. He's not going to have internet. You're never going to be able to contact him again. But you want to give this guy the best chance for success. It could be hitting, defense, mentality, whatever you want. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to this player? And since I'm ambushing you, I didn't tell you about this. The one I give to catchers is sit in front of 100. Because if you sit in front of 100, velo exposes inefficiencies. So if you can catch 100, you're doing it right. You found your move, you found your timing, you found your rhythm. If I never see you again, go sit in front of velocity. What would be your one piece of advice?
Oh, dude, my mind's going all over the place, but
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that my advice to this person would be to, man, I would say enjoy every single moment of your journey and fully live and embrace the experiences you have, whether they're up or down. Like, feel that and live that fully, because you know it's gonna come to an end,
Hmm.
whether we like it or not. And I think to give your best, to give your possible best, and that won't be the same every day. Your best one day might be better than the next day, but as long as you're giving your best, I think it's Lao Tzu, or Confucius, that never make fun of the guy that is making progress. It's
Hmm.
never too slow as long as you're making progress. So I like that. I think make progress every day. And yeah, I'd say
Yeah, I love it. That's
enjoy
awesome.
the journey. Make progress and enjoy the journey.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you having you on here. We will have you on again because I think we're just scratching the surface. I appreciate you, Hunter. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Anything else you'd like to plug?
No, I'd just say, if you're listening to this and you're trying to get better, believe in yourself. I think that, take a deep look. What do you want to do? Listen to your heart and go after it with everything you've got. Don't be afraid to take risks, because the ships that are in the harbor, they never get to explore, man. Go out there, get in the sea, push yourself, and hopefully we chat soon.
Dude, that's gold. I love that. Hey, where can they find you on social media or anywhere on the interwebs?
Social media, I'm pretty sure my tags are just Hunter Lessard.
Mm, yeah.
But you can really find me, and if you want to work with me, MavericksBaseballAcademy.com. We've got Mavericks Baseball Academy on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all that. And the mental stuff that I do is all virtual. So if you are interested, if somebody wants to get involved in that, you can find us at MavericksBaseballAcademy.com.
Dude, let's go. That's awesome. I appreciate you
So
having me on here, bub.
appreciate you having me, bro. Loved it. Let me know when
All
we
right.
want to do
All
another.
right, man. Oh, now. I'll see you, man.
Later, bro.